Thank you for joining Sports Development Series. We yours truly, Boma Ekiora.
Our Sportdev series is sponsored by Arewa Baobab Fruit Powder, one of the most nutritious substances on the planet. Get your Baobab Fruit Powder from arewabaobab.com.
Sportdev series, thanks for joining us. So, we continue with our review of African Cup of Nations. I tell you what, it's been an exciting tournament. Hard to predict. It very, very, very difficult to predict. Teams that you wouldn't typically associate with wins have been pulling off upsets. Today, Namibia beat Tunisia. Tunisia is a team that's won the tournament a couple of times, always competes pretty well. No one would have seen that coming. And it's just been that kind of tournament. And the increased parity is always a good thing, because essentially what that means is it makes it fun to watch. Anyone could win any game at any time. And that's what makes this really exciting. If it was a tournament where we would see teams that have historically done well beat all the minnows, then it'd just be a regular old tournament. But in this case, that's not the case. So today, we're going to look at a team that I watched carefully today. And interestingly, they look like a dark horse. They look like the kind of team that you may not see coming. And that team is Mali. Mali played a very good game today. Defensively, they were responsible. And they were able to beat a South African side, which in the past may have given them trouble. South Africa actually missed a penalty in this game. But it was a very good game to watch. But going back to Mali, there's something about this team that I find pretty interesting, especially when you look at their squad. The one thing that jumps out at you is they have players that compete in some of the best leagues in the world. When you look at Mali as a nation, you don't see this because they don't have really strong developmental programs. The country has a lot of issues. It's located in a part of Africa that kind of goes into the Sahara Desert. So you wouldn't typically pick Mali to be a strong nation, but on the contrary, they do have a lot of athletes, a lot of talent. And looking at their team, they have a combined transfer market value of 137 million euros, which means you have a number of players that are worth quite a bit. Yves Bissouma, that plays for Tottenham Hotspur in the EPL, is one of them. He's worth 30 million euros. And then you have a couple of guys that play for Red Bull Salzburg. One of the defenders plays for Braga. There's in Portugal, that is. So you have a couple of guys that play in Spain. So you have, and of course, typically, as with most French-speaking African nations, you do have a number of players that play in the top league, Ligue 1 in France. So, man for man, they could compete with any team, any of the top teams on the continent. And they beat South Africa today. They were able to, put them away and play defensively strong, and they played with a lot of intensity. Their finishing was a little bit poor. So I think that's the only question mark that I saw on them. But overall, they look like a very strong team. And I think going into their next game on Saturday, where they play Tunisia, that will be kind of the decider, if you will, about what we're watching here on this team. If they're able to go in there and decimate this Tunisian team, which I could see them doing, because they're more dangerous than Namibia, and Tunisia lost to Namibia today, then we're looking at something really dangerous. And these guys could be giant killers, meaning they could go into the knockout stages. If they're able to pull off that victory against Tunisia, they'll go into the knockout stages with a lot of confidence. And you could see them beating teams that are ranked according to FIFA, ranked on the FIFA rankings. One more thing, when you look at their history, over their last 6 games, Mali has not lost a game since, goodness, I don't even think they've lost a game in a while. They didn't lose a game in 2023. They had 2 draws and a lot of victories. If you look at their last 4 games that they've played, a friendly match leading into the tournament, they beat Guinea-Bissau by 6 goals to 2. One of the only draws they had last year was a draw against Central African Republic. They played a friendly match against Saudi Arabia and they beat them 3-1. They beat Uganda. So they've beaten teams across the board. They really haven't lost a lot of games. So that's another reason why you have to take this team very seriously. They didn't lose any games in 2023 at all. They had a couple of draws, 2 draws against, obviously they drew against Angola and then they drew against Central African Republic. Everyone else they played, they beat. Sorry, they had 1 draw against Guinea, but that was in 2022. That doesn't count. So every other game they played, they beat the teams. And so they've come into this tournament pretty much undefeated, which makes them very dangerous. And I'm picking them to be a dark horse in this. I see them causing a lot of problems for whomever they play. The Tunisia game is going to reveal a lot of things. And we're just going to have to watch to see if these guys can really be giant killers like, they're portraying themselves to be. It's going to be interesting. Anyways, Sportdev, thanks for joining us. We'll keep breaking down more of this tournament as we go along. But I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks again. Out.